I recently had a rather difficult conversation with a friend about the Roe v. Wade decision. For context, she is more centrist in her political leaning and tries to avoid extremes on both sides. That said, the SCOTUS decision has really shaken her. She believes life begins at conception and that there is value in each life, but she worries about what this means for women in general. She brought up arguments about cases where abortion is the only way to save the life of the mother, cases about abortion being a felony in all cases, and what that means for women's voting rights, and several other points I won't try and summarize. As a Canadian, a lot about your legal system is Greek to me, and I didn't really have much I could respond with by way of counter argument. Even if I did, I felt my energy was much better served being a good friend and protecting this important relationship than winning an argument. I guess I'm looking for advice on how to handle both the intellectual and relational side of this situation. Do you have any resources to look into for these conversations? While I can sympathize with her perspective, I struggle to empathize fully since I disagree with her conclusions. Talking with her about it, I felt torn in two. I appreciate any insight you may have. Thanks, Spencer. Well, my general rule for this sort of thing, where it's a political issue that could tear a friendship apart, is that except in extreme cases, it's better for you to remain in the relationship so that you can have fruitful dialogue with this person than for you to be so dogmatic that this person shuts you out and is then basically at the mercy of whoever else is going to talk to her about it. Sort of like if you don't talk to your kids about some of these issues, they're going to go out into the world and talk about it. So like, you should never lie. You should never, you should never pretend you believe something you don't believe. But you should be very willing, I think. You should be the opposite of the left. The left is like shut people out of your life the minute they disagree with you, right? Like there was a post on Twitter recently, like you need to shun your whole family because they're all racists, right? And like the opposite of that for us is like, okay, we have potentially painful disagreements, but I would rather be in that relationship with you. I mean, this is honestly what I say to people when they're like, well, how do you remain friends with conservatives that don't even think you should be allowed to get married? It's like, well, what's the other option? Like the other option is like cutting a friendship out of my life, which makes me sorrowful, and that person not even having one friend that they love and care about that has a different view on this subject. So obviously the right course of action is for you to maintain that friendship and tread, as lightly as you can without being dishonest. So I would say like, don't worry about compromising your principles or whatever if you tread lightly here, because this is something that touches very deep nerves, emotional nerves, and it's exacerbated every day by our news media, which purposefully touches those nerves all the time, presses that nerve like a button every day, right? What about rape? What about the 10-year-old girl that was pregnant? Right? What about this? And so your job, I think, here is to remain in this relationship with her while lovingly communicating your views. I have a friend of a friend who says, you can say anything if you say it in love, or if you say it from the heart.